welcome in to Two Country Home. So it's been about a week since our last tour, so just thought we'd bring you around again. We've had a bit of rain this week, so you can see the comfrey is comfrey's filled out quite a bit, so need to do some trimming back on this so it doesn't encroach into the vegetables. But our red Russian kale is doing well. It's starting to put on some growth. As you can see, the Chinese cabbage have these two have put on a lot of size since the last video. Curly kale is doing well. In the last video I talked about we had planted some radish here, so those radishes are starting to come up. And we had talked about in the middle I put in some carrots. So as you can see here, you can see all the this green here that looks like little baby grass. That's all carrots starting to come up. So, and like I say, the radish here. So everything in this bed has come up as planned. Even our volunteer potato is still hanging in there. But so yeah, I'm really happy with the salad bed. It's starting to, cooler weather's come, so it's helped it out a lot. Here, as you can recall, we in this bed we had planted some parsnips. So here, as you can see, these little bits of green here, they're kind of small, but these are all parsnips. Here, so they're all coming up. They haven't really put on the second set of leaves yet, but I expect they should before too long. But they're all up and doing pretty well. Our Loquat tree here still in the process of putting on a bit of new growth, and it's actually got some flowers, so that's doing its thing as it should for this time of year. Moving over here to our provider green bean bed, we've got some pretty good growth. Have a lot of flowers going on, and actually I'm probably thinking maybe we're starting to get some decent some decent bean growth. Not everywhere, but some of them are getting a little bit of size to them. So I'm thinking it's been a little cooler this week. We're supposed to warm up some next. I think in another week we should start to as you can see here, they're coming on pretty well. So I think in another less than a week, these will obviously be ready sooner, but we should be into pretty good production, I would say, from here going forward. So I'm very happy with that. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's nice. And of course we still have our volunteer potato here and another volunteer potato over here. So they're doing pretty well. Lots of nice green meat. So it won't be long. Probably be pulling a harvest before too terribly long. And this one here's, this probably can come off now, but they're not as long as they get in the spring, but nice. And actually in the fall they're going to be a lot sweeter and better tasting. So these are some of our starts we had planted out. So some, they're just starting to come up. They don't have a whole lot of size on them yet, but we'll be planting them out shortly. That's some collard greens in there and a little bit of kale. Here's, you remember we had planted a row of radish, 2 rows, so they're up, starting to put on some size. Some are smaller than others, and then in between here we had planted a row of garlic. That's not up yet. In here, as you recall from here, this way we planted a salad mix, and you can see all these little green spots in here. So that's all the various salad mix. It's starting to come up. It took a little while, but it's finally come up. And then from here forward, we planted carrots again. These are ox hearts. They're up really nice. As you can see, it's all this little green grass. That's all carrots. So I may have to thin a little bit, but I plant them a little thick, and then we usually pull them out as we go. And yeah, our papayas are still been a little cooler, but they're still hanging in pretty well. So we'll see how that goes. We had talked about our potatoes, so we went ahead and I got this one hilled all the way up. So when I hilled it up, it was probably last week's video, maybe it was top of the plant was here. I hilled it all the way up, and it's done really nice. I hilled a little bit in here. These are behind for whatever reason. They're not quite doing as well, but yeah, I can't complain. This one's done real nice. Similarly here, our potatoes not performing as well as over there, but it's hanging in there. Our climbing beans, now I'm starting to see quite a bit of flowering. Have not seen any beans yet. Hopefully that's going to come real soon. But yeah, a lot of flowers everywhere, and it's gone all the way up to the top and doing its thing. So I expect here shortly we'll have the beans coming through. Our curly kale we had in here, it's still doing fine in its place here. And in here we had planted a row of radish, and that row of radish is now up, and hopefully it doesn't get shaded out too much. It was just an experiment to try to use as much space as we can. And so far, even though we've had a lot of wind, our little structure here is held up. So hopefully that continues. This is our other bed. We planted out to oxheart carrots. So as you can see, these are up pretty well. This is a piece of grass here, but here these are all carrots, so they're starting to get some pretty good height on them. Doing pretty well. We didn't plant real thick in this bed, so hopefully we shouldn't have to thin, and they should do pretty well. Our asparagus is still green and doing its thing, so we're leaving it. I'll have to, when it dies back, I will trim it down, but right now it's still doing good. And actually, odd time of year, but it's actually putting on still putting out new growth, so we're just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to cut it back now. It will die down like this and we'll trim it, but right now still doing well. And of course some sweet potato that had grown out of that bed, and it just attached here, so we just leave that there. More asparagus still developing. Here, this bed here is also, we planted out to carrots. It's all up, doing fairly well. So should not have to thin this bed either. That bed seems to be doing pretty good. Oregano is still actually looking really nice. Over here we had those, as we discussed in the last video, we had a bit of volunteer potatoes. They haven't grown a whole lot. I've added some soil in around this one, just trying to build this up a little bit with some compost. But yeah, I don't know. They do really well in the spring. In the fall, we don't have as good a success with Irish potatoes. In the spring, they do really well, and in buckets, it's tough in the spring or the fall. Here, another bed we planted out. As you can see, all this green, that's another bed of parsnip. So they're all up and doing well. No issues with them. Still have some residual leftover sweet potato that's growing here on its own. It's not going to produce anything, but you know, the greens are there for us to use. And then our Malabar spinach has reached all the way up here and now growing across. I'm not sure if you've ever eaten Malabar spinach. It's really good, you know, green for stir fry. It's nice to have around. Our celery is doing well. Actually starting to put on a little bit of growth, I believe. And we had discussed, we had planted some radish in the middle. They're coming on now, so it won't be too long for them. They shouldn't disturb the development of the celery. This area here we just planted out to some, and it's not up yet. We planted some, well, I guess I should take that back. There are some over here, little ones coming up, some radish there. And we planted this out to beets. They're not up yet. This in the last video was an area that wasn't up yet either, but now it is. We planted this out to carrots as well. So carrots here are all up. And I think the neighbor's cat was in here. Thought this was a place for it, so some of the carrots got disturbed, but they'll be all right. Here we had planted some radish, so they're coming up. Our sage is doing well. One of our garlics here is broken service, doing pretty well. We had planted some green onion in here. They were slow, but now with this recent rain here, they're starting to break through. So here there's onion coming up, so right here as well. So they've taken a little while, but they are pushing through finally. And our yellow bells are still flowering. I need to trim this back when as soon as they're done flowering, I leave them for the bees, and they develop these pods, and these pods end up here, kind of look like a green bean, but they end up opening. And whenever you have a pod open, seeds tend to fall, and you get a lot of little growth of them around, which doesn't hurt anything. Comfrey here again, enjoying the cool weather. Here, a couple little volunteer potatoes that just popped up this week. Not sure, I guess they were left in there. We had potatoes in here earlier in the spring and we didn't get them all out. That happens. There we have a couple radish planted and another curly kale. Here our cabbage is doing real well. It's starting to take the shape like it should, so you know, I'm happy with that. This type here is different from these, but they've come back. This one had almost died back to the ground earlier in the summer, and it's now just as big as these that hadn't. So they're doing real well. So I can't complain with any of the cabbage. This area we had done a lot of green manure cover cropping and building up the soil, and cabbage seems to enjoy it. It's not hurting anything, so they're doing really well. This bed you saw us plant out, which is our root crops, so our turnips that we had planted here on the end, they the ones that germinated, well, they're doing quite well, as you can see. A lot of nice growth. This one's kind of underneath the other one, a little close to these. Obviously they're planted close together, and I reseeded in the middle, but you know, you don't realize how big the plant gets. So you know, you gotta really when you plant them, try not to have them too close together, because it's when they first come up it doesn't look that bad, but when they get like this they get crowded. So our beets didn't germinate real well. I've replanted some over there, but you know, these that are up are going to fill out like this, so might not be a problem. It's a small space, we just get a little bit of each thing. Our radish here are up. The rutabagas are putting on some size. There again, they really don't need to be any closer. This one won't probably make it because it's in between these two. They're going to get quite large, so they don't need to be. And you get, you know, a rutabaga can get quite large itself, so you get a lot off of one. Radish again. These are the black Spanish radish. These are crimson red radish, 2 rows of them, and a couple more cabbage there. And they're not doing quite as well. It's surprising, you know, this bed is probably more developed, the soil in here, than what this bed is, because we do a lot of cover crops and we're building soil here. But boy, the cabbage just really likes it here much better than it does here. So the green manure and cover cropping and putting compost over the green matter material, it does help. Here, lemon tree, Meyer Lemon, it's they're all starting to turn. We've pulled a few off. We have a couple yellow ones in there. Sometimes they get yellow, they fall off. But it won't be too long. By Thanksgiving, they'll be done. So we got another 3 weeks. They'll be completely ready. In last week's video, we had some sunchokes growing here. We've gone ahead and pulled them out, and had a nice little harvest of sunchoke that we'll use to replant next year. And we've kind of cleaned up this area and re-prepped it. So in here, I may plant out some of them small seedlings, or I may put in another bed of carrots and maybe some green onions on the edge. Garden mums here now are starting to flower. There's a red one over there, a couple yellow garden mums, so they're doing pretty well. And as you can see here, that's got a little bit of green on the end, but these are basically, they're, that's basically ready to go. A nice size Meyer Lemon. We plan to maybe do a little cooking with these. It's really great if you're cooking a whole chicken. Cut this in half, put it in there. The aroma with the rind and all is nice on chicken. And we also may try to make a sour drop adult beverage with some of these. So we're going to see. We're going to have quite a few, and they're all going to come ready basically at the same time. So there's probably 4 or 5 here that are ready currently, but I leave them on there, generally speaking, until they come off. Here again, our comfrey, really enjoying the cooler weather, and we still have a lot of weeds, but we also have sweet potato growing around. In this bed, it was not in the last video, this bed hadn't produced anything yet, but now you can see we planted carrots here again. We planted a lot of carrots here at Two Country Home, so they're all up. Some of these are thick as well, but we'll thin them as we go, and we'll have a lot of carrots to enjoy. We freeze a lot, we use a lot fresh, and we dehydrate usually, as many as 6 or 8 quarts, and that lasts us throughout the year for soups and stews. We had our persimmon, we did harvest it, so we're going to be doing a video where we taste test the persimmon. It's just getting a little bit ready right now. And we have the last few, and I don't think it's going to be time for them to develop, of our figs. So unfortunately, I think the weather's going to catch up to those. But just thought I'd run you through and show you the difference in 1 week's time. I think last week when we shot the video, it was still in the lower 80s. Actually, Monday we had a high of 52 and a low of 45 degrees, so it's dropped significantly. Today it's been in the mid 60s, so things are things that enjoy it. The cabbage and the greens do well. The green beans, they probably like a little warmer temperatures, and the potatoes are okay as it is. So things are coming along. We just thought we'd bring you another update, as we will continue to do every week, and bring you all the way through till we continue with our harvest. So I hope if you enjoy our content, you'd subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate all the people that watch, and hope that you'll continue to support us. I'll see you later from Two Country Homes.